When I think about this federal legislation, I think about the cycle that we are breaking for our people. I think about the great solace that I feel as a grandmother. I know that my children, my grandchildren, and my great grandchildren will not experience the child welfare system that we experienced as a nation. This federal legislation honoring our Children, Families, and Nation Act, it represents that breaking of a cycle that we've been in for 500 years. This legislation is so important because it's going to be based on Peguis values, traditions. Those are the things that have not left us. And this legislation embraces all of those things. It signals our process to decolonize from the great tragedies that many of our people experienced.
We had initiated taking over Child and Family Service as an independent First Nation way back in the mid-'80s. And since then, we were in pursuit of our own legislation. And today, we're going to be the first First Nation in Manitoba to undertake legislative control of our children and our families through Child and Family Services. And it's going to be managed and administered and determined by the people of Peguis. Through this legislation, it offers us that opportunity to keep kids within their families and extended family settings. And as a community, as a tradition, Peguis has always aspired to keep our families together, and this legislation offers that.
We have the inherent right to look after our children. So does everybody else in this world have that inherent right. As a parent, the opportunity to give their child the best possible life. Minno bimad ziwind in our language. And within our language, there is rules and there's laws, there's procedures and protocols to every part of life. It was in our language, it was in the way we spoke, and that did us justice. Children weren't left alone. We had traditional adoption, traditional rearing of children.
It's the most significant piece of federal legislation and the first federal legislation for our First Nation. It is going to welcome our children back home. We're acknowledging them no matter where they reside in Canada. So this legislation is far-reaching and it applies to all Indigenous members on and off reserve and within Canada.
So under the auspices of Bill C-92 that came out on January 1st, 2020, that legislation affirms that the First Nation has the right to create their own child welfare legislation, and that's what we've been doing over the past year. So over the past year, as we developed this legislation and we've gotten to a point where we're saying to Canada and Manitoba, we're ready to enter into negotiations for a coordination agreement. We sent that notice of intent out on January 20th to Canada and Manitoba, and that basically invites them to participate in negotiations over a 12-month period to establish this coordination agreement. And then the coordination agreement itself basically sets out the fiscal requirements for Peguis to implement this act.
It gives me great solace that my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren will not experience a broken system. They will experience a circle where they will have the elders, they will have the grandmothers, they will have their history. They'll have an opportunity to form and develop their identity, but most importantly, feel a strong sense of belonging. And that's what we are striving for. We had our coming into force ceremony on January 21st, 2022. And what that really meant and what it really symbolized was that that day, our nation began providing services to its registered members. And so that is, historic because the devastating effects of colonization and child welfare was used as a tool to further assimilate our people. And all of our people know that the removal of our children from our community, from our families, was the removal of our nations.
We have brought in our flags and our people. Our nation is standing before us. At the heart of it is our drum, Namashumas Dewe gun, and our pipes, our knowledge keepers, our elders. As we recognize our past, we also recognize our future. As today is a good day in our history, for today we make history. Not only with the provincial government, but the Canadian government and this great place called Canada, to reunite and give back to us what is rightfully ours. Oh, ahoy! I want to call forward to sit at the front table Chief Glenn Hudson, representing Peguis Nation, representing our agency, Peguis Child and Family Services, Louise McCorster, the chairman. From Canada, Minister Patty Hadu. Manitoba Premier Heather Stephenson. And Minister Rochelle Squires to come and sit at the head table.
So we have two documents that are being signed today. The main document is the coordination agreement, which is signed by all four parties, Peguis First Nation, Peguis Child and Family Services, Manitoba, and Canada. And we have an additional document that also is being signed amongst three parties. It's the Canada Fiscal Agreement. It's going to be signed by Peguis First Nation, Peguis Child and Family Services, and Canada. So those two documents will be signed by those three parties. Manitoba will only be signing the coordination agreement. Congratulations to each of the parties on signing these documents. It's a new day. Our ancestors left us with many teachings. We have to follow those teachings. We have to adhere to those teachings. What they shared with us is sacred law, inherent law, indivisible, something that is always carried with us. We can't forget that. We have to maintain our accountability to those teachings and to our ancestors. That's what these documents do. They give us the resources so that we can be accountable to our ancestors, accountable to those yet unborn, and accountable to those people with us here today. The Canada funding agreement is for 3 years, starting this fiscal year, this current fiscal year. And through the course of negotiations, we arrived at our final numbers just this past weekend. So we were at the very, very last minute, coming together with Canada on our financial numbers. I've been asked to inform that the value of the agreement over these 3 years is coming in at $319 million. This is to provide all aspects of child and family service delivery. These services are to be made available for our members wherever they reside nationally. So I want to thank our team. I want to thank Canada. I want to thank Manitoba. I want to thank Chief and Council for their dedication to this work. And I think the resources and the capacity that can flow from this funding will allow us to do that great work that we need to do to make our communities healthier, to make our communities stronger. Miigwech.
And today, as difficult as that road was, it symbolizes the relentless work that we've done, the relentless fight that we've had to fight to get to where we're at. And you cannot be selfish in this work when you're devoting your life to the people. So I thank Jimani too. I thank the grandmothers and the grandfathers in the past, in the present, and the ones to come for trusting us. As we ask for that trust, we have to give that trust as well.
On January 31st of 2023, that's when we finally were able to sign our coordination agreement and our funding agreement. And once we had that funding in place, that's when we were actually able to work towards full implementation of our legislation. And part of the full implementation of our legislation was bringing in our elders and bringing them in to participate in part of the alternatives to the court process. So now that we have our funding in place and the resources and the capacity to undertake that work, we have started to work on those elder orientations and workshops. We are now able to bring our elders together and to train them up and provide them with that orientation for each of those respective alternatives to the court process. And that's, again, another very exciting process in terms of making sure that we do this work our way in accordance with our Indigenous legal traditions and directed and guided by our elders. So our elders can actually be part of that hands-on process for helping out our families and helping out our children.
Through the hard work of our past leadership, the people involved, our current directors, our past directors, they had this vision of taking control of their own child welfare. Peguis being the first First Nation in Canada to achieve this coordination agreement is very, very honoring and very important. And right now, this day, that vision has come to fruition.
Customary care is a traditional practice that has existed amongst our ancestors. It allows our families to take control in their healing journey and ensuring that children stay with family. It is so traumatizing to our children for them to be moved with strangers, and it can be hard on our parents when they don't know where their children are and who they're with. So customary care allows the parents to identify someone who they trust in their family group to step up and care for that child while they are on their healing journey. And it allows the family to come together and work and build and gather around that child to ensure that that child has the best possible road in life, and putting that power back into the family's hands to ensure that children stay with their kin.
Clem and her team, they're doing an awesome job. All the different things that they have in place are just great, and it's going to benefit our children when we start bringing them home, and that's so good to hear. They're focused on children and families, which is lovely to see.
When it comes right down to it, we do and make decisions that are good for the children and the families. We work together. That's very, very important.
Each of you would have received a package like this, and inside the package is a copy of what is called an expression of interest sheet. So when you hear the presentations, and if you're interested in participating in any of the alternatives to the court process, we would ask you that you fill out your name, your address, your phone number, and your email if you have one, and then check off which one of these alternatives to the court processes that you'd be interested in. And we're going to go through each of them today and tomorrow. The principal reason why we're here today, gathered with our elders, is to gain their interest in participating in the alternatives to the court process so that they can keep on becoming involved more and more as we develop our programs and services. One of the alternatives that I'm most excited about is the Acceptance Commission. The Acceptance Commission is a panel of 4 elders that we draw from a roster of elders, and as of last year, from July, we've held 5 acceptance commissions to date. That means 9 children we would consider traditionally adopted as a result of the panel of elders. More and more are being scheduled in the coming weeks and months, and we look forward to increasing the statistics as it relates to customary acceptance and the number of children that are customarily adopted through this alternative to the court process.
If you have questions or would like to know more, please contact us at the Peguis CFS offices or visit us online at peguiscfs.ca.